The mural that we're heading towards is a mural that was painted by an artist named Emigdio Vasquez, and he's very well known within the art world. He's typically been called the godfather of Chicano art, and he did about 33 murals here in Orange County alone, throughout many different communities: Santa Ana, Fullerton, Anaheim, Orange. So we're going to be going and talking about one of his murals that he did right here in downtown Santa Ana, right here on Santa Ana Boulevard. Okay, so the mural that we're in front of, as I mentioned earlier, is a mural that was painted by Emigdio Vasquez. This mural in particular has a unique history. It was dedicated and painted in here in early 1990s. 1991, I think, is when it was finally dedicated. But this is actually the second spot of where this mural was. This mural was originally at the Bowers Museum, and it was commissioned in 1986. And so Emigdio Vasquez actually painted this mural, which he labeled and called Visions of Orange County, at the Bowers Museum. And it was to represent this kind of transgression, this timeline history of Orange County. Eventually what happened was Bowers Museum closed down, and they kind of reevaluated what they were going to be doing at the museum. And as they were expanding, they ended up destroying the mural. And Emigdio Vasquez was so distraught that happened, that he wanted to paint it somewhere else because he was so proud of the mural. And he ended up getting approval from the city and getting some funding from the city, from the county, to paint it here. Which is this building, or where we're at, is actually the old Orange County Bus Depot. So this is where the transportation depot where buses used to come in and come out. And so as we look at it from this way, going this way is this timeline history. And a timeline history of his mural was actually a very common theme for Emigdio Vasquez. He liked to tell the story of a community or of a place through this kind of timeline. And so when you look right over here at the front, you see our indigenous population of Native Americans. So you have them working, you have them making, it looks like they're seeding some things in some baskets. You see their home in the background, which is known as a quiche, made from native willow trees. So you see this scene of just indigenous people working the land or just living in the land. And then as you move forward, then you start to see this progression of Spanish colonization, exploration. Then you start to see it going in towards this kind of missionary, Spanish missionary period. And then you kind of see this Mexican period of when Mexico ruled or took over what is now California. As you kind of progress, you start to see a little bit of layers of not just Orange County history, but of California history. Right over here, you see workers on the railroads, or working on building these railroads. And if you look very closely, it's hard to tell, but those are Chinese nationals. And if you know a little bit of history about California, Chinese helped build railroads, helped build roads, helped build sewer systems here in the state and here in the county. So that's really a really unique aspect of our history here in California, is that you had different peoples coming in to kind of help build this infrastructure that we kind of take for granted of. As you kind of move forward with this timeline, this is a very unique scene right here. It has some people bottling wine. And so the first incorporated city of what is now Orange County was Anaheim. And Anaheim was a German colony. And so the Germans were known in Anaheim as they kind of developed these vineyards to produce wine. So what you're seeing here is you're actually seeing a bottling of wine. If you look at the bottom right here, Zinfandel, that's a type of wine. So this kind of shows this, this influx of Europeans and European Americans into what is now California, starting the development of new towns. Because before that point, land was just very, very open, very free, not a lot of, not a huge population in what was now in Trinity. Anaheim was incorporated in 1857. As we continue to move forward in this timeline, you start to see something that was very important to Orange County history. You see this tilling of land. You see orange groves here. Orange County was really an agricultural community. And it was an agricultural community up until World War II, which meant that most of the people that were living in here, working in here, worked in the agricultural fields. You see right here, you see a gentleman with have a bag over his shoulder. This is what they call the orange bag. So this is where when they would pick oranges, then they would place the oranges in their bag. If you look right over here in these orange groves, you see the ladder is like propped up against the trees, and you can see the laborers actually have these orange bags, citrus bags around them, so that as they pick, they just put into their basket or to their bags. Right over here, you see this little industry right here, this building that kind of represents industry, but also represents a direct connection towards our agriculture community. That looks like one of the sugar factories that was here in Orange County, here in Santa Ana actually. And you had fields of sugar beets. And what they would do is you would grow sugar beets, they would manufacture them, and this became the source of sugar. And here in Orange County, here in Santa Ana, at one point you had one of the largest manufacturers in the world of sugar coming from these sugar beets that were being grown. Also, if you look back at the oranges, Orange County became known as one of the largest producers and manufacturers of oranges in the citrus industry in the world. So that's very, very, that's very big. Thinking of like, you don't really see orange trees here in Orange County anymore. As you move forward, I mentioned that World War II was really this kind of shift in our county history. And the reason why is because World War II, you had a lot of people actually having to go out and fight in the war, which meant that the United States government really needed to start to do a lot of production of technology, of airplanes and things of that nature. So you see some war, you see a soldier, you see this blimp right over here, right down the road in Teston. You had these blimp hangars, and that's where they were housed. And then you start to see like these trucks and workers, and you see like this gentleman holding these plans, these blueprints, because you started to see this shift in the county where you started to see this shift in this county where now these huge fields of crops and agriculture are starting to get demolished, and you start to see the building of homes, of communities, of industry, of manufacturing. And so that really kind of started with World War II. Here in Orange County, you had a lot of industries that were helping build like the computer chips and components for these large airplanes and things of that nature. You start to see more cars as the growth is. You see growth of infrastructure and freeways, roads, and things of that nature. Right here, it's pretty unique. You start to see this shift of what Vasquez is painting. You start to see a little bit of like this more of like entertainment and popular culture. So you had the Anaheim Angels, Los Angeles Angels, which moved from Los Angeles here into Anaheim. And you had sports now as a form of entertainment, as a form of getting away and doing things with the family. You see this gentleman right here football player of the Los Angeles Rams, which share the same stadium as with the Angels. And then all you see Mickey Mouse. Everyone knows Mickey Mouse. Everyone, Mickey Mouse Disneyland is a global icon. And you see the growth of Orange County through tourism with the founding of Disneyland in Anaheim in 1955. That's when Anaheim opened up. This is really unique because a lot of people don't really connect maybe the Olympics with Orange County. But right over here, you see the Olympic rings. You see some tennis players. You see the tennis player. In 1984, the city of Los Angeles hosted the Olympic Games, and which meant that not everything happened within Los Angeles. You have many sports that are played throughout the games, and which meant that you have to find different venues and different locations to actually house these games and house people. And the games trickled into what is Orange County. So you had certain events happening in Orange County. You had like soccer games being played in like Cal State Fullerton and things of that nature. One of the things that Emigdio Vasquez definitely wanted to portray in his murals was the community that he grew up in and the community that he was proud of. He was a Mexican American. He was proud of his heritage, and what he wanted for his community was to grow into professionals. And so become professional workers, get into the white class and not necessarily get out of the fields and work in industry, work in computers. Education was really large. You see these young students focusing on education. And so this was really important for him, was to always depict his community, because he wanted his paintings to influence the younger generation of Latinos and Latinas, of Chicanos, And so that you see this in the back, and then obviously you see in the background, you start to see more of these like industry buildings, because actually if you just look around, what he's painting in the back really kind of looks like what we see here. Just sky-rise buildings, industry, government buildings and things of that nature. So it's a very big shift from what we started of just seeing flat, open space land to what we've developed in today. And Emigdio Vasquez did a lot of work, was an artist in resident at Bowers Museum for many years. And even though the original painting was destroyed at the Bowers Museum, he still incorporated that museum into this mural, the final mural. That's a little bit of background up at the mural. I hope that you learn from it. I hope you learn to appreciate all the artwork that we have around the county. There's a lot of artwork around the county, around this city especially in Santa Ana, and to really understand and learn the history of it gives you a deeper perspective of yourself, of your community. And what we want here is we want every Santanero, everyone who lives in Santa Ana, to be proud of their community. And it is through works like this that helps tell the story of our history that you're going to be able to become proud and stay proud of what everyone before you has done to help build this community. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to just reach out to me. Again, my name is Kevin Cabrera. I am the Executive Director at the Heritage Museum of Orange County. We're located on the southwest side of the city. I'm really thankful to be here and to be able to talk a little bit about Emigdio and his work.